and open you. There we go. All right, so I'll go ahead and double click this. Oh, and so this is the game we made last time. It was an extremely difficult game of tag against like 2v1 tag. And yeah, it's really hard to get around them. But this is what we built, and this is just the purpose of this is not to be fun. The purpose of oh look, I did a loop around them. Okay. Anyway, so the purpose of this stuff is not like we're not trying to build a fun game. We're actually just trying to build a game because it's our first, right? So it's all about just learning those initial kind of game programming style things. Like I will say kind of as a side note, I did go to school for computer science, and like I've been coding games my whole life, but then I went to school for computer science, and like one of my peers, like we like at a hackathon, I was like, let's just make a little game, why not? And like they didn't know, like they're like, oh, I don't know how to like make like the like I think we just decided to make like a little Space Invaders real quick type thing. And she's like, well, I don't know how to make like the projectiles hit like another person, or I don't know how to like put them all there. I'm like it's just a loop. Like, you just loop through every single one. They didn't know how to do that. I was like, well, that's crazy. Like, even programmers who are not game developers, like, they don't even realize, like, oh my gosh, I have to use, like, actual data structures and things in order to build games. It's like, I think a lot of people look at games and they're just like, oh yeah, it's a game. Like, it just does game things. It's like, no, it's like, games actually have to use a lot of math and physics. So, anyway, that is what we're learning here. So we're doing a little bit of both, and we're doing we're going to learn code, but we're going to learn code in a way that is for games, because there is a certain you do certain things for coding games, and that's the whole purpose of what we're doing now, is just that intro programming stuff with like just enough programming knowledge to build a game, and you'll know programming, and you'll know a lot of like standards with games, like such as like the main update loop. Like that's something that I put is like, and that's like the main thing that keeps the screen like refreshing at like 60 frames per second. So okay, so the first thing I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to open up Chromium. So it automatically, like, my browser by default is Edge. So to open this up in Chromium, I'm going to go ahead and just copy this. So this is the current file that's being opened in the browser. And what I'm going to do, just making sure there's no chat. So what I'm going to do is open this up in Chromium. So I have to go to Downloads, Chrome Win. Yeah, I couldn't believe Chromium, to be honest. It's very powerful. And it looks just like Chrome. So, yeah. Okay, so there we go. We're in. Ah! That's when I get hit. So, to use our browser as a game engine, like, you right click and you click inspect. So just as a little recap, like, browsers are, we use the browsers every day to browse the internet, but browsers are also the tool that developers who build for the internet use to develop. So they're like, that's like a little thing that I don't think a lot of people know. And when all you have to do is just right click and then click, like, right there. Once you click inspect, it opens up this whole new dimension of the web browser that is for developers, that like everyday people like never know is there. Okay. And another thing, so what we did before, so this was technically closed before. So when you first open it up, it looks like this. This shows all the elements that are currently on the page. You can kind of think of this as like the inspector in Unity. Like, it's just like, if I hover over something, it'll show me where that thing is. Yeah, this is called the DOM, the document object model. That's what this is called in browser stuff. Then we got a console. This is where we can like do things. Like, for instance, I can like access my player. That is that the red, or is it red or blue? Oh, well, he's dead. Okay, so the player is blue. So, let's see. So I can like go like player dot x plus equals like 100. Let's see what happens. So I just made him teleport. So this is like same thing in Unity. There's also kind of like a console in Unity as well. I can't remember if you can like enter stuff on Unity or not, like live while it's going, but in a browser you certainly can. Because you can kind of think of this console as an extension. It's like a script that you're currently writing line by line. So, if it wanted to do that, it would do that kind of thing. Okay, let's see. So the other thing we did was I discovered last time, like this is something I never knew. You can actually write code. Like you can write, like develop your game in the browser, which was like before. I always use a text editor. Um, like some of those text editors would include something like Notepad++. There's also Sublime. A really popular one is called Visual Studio Code. A lot of people use that one. And my favorite in particular is Atom. Atom text editor. The reason why I like it is because it's like they say it's hackable, and you can like write like there's a lot of extensions for it, and I like to I kind of add a lot of random things. So what we did last time though is we discovered if you click sources, so the sources are like the source code, but then you go, so by default it's on page. So if we go from page to file system, you can actually use the browser, like in this browser, to write files like on your computer, which is super duper rad. Um, it's not there. Let's see. Oh, you know what? My bad. Because we changed the folder. Okay, let's go ahead and do that now. Desktop, beginner game dev. There we go. Oh, no, it's that. Select folder. Okay, and allow. There we go. So I'll remove this one. Remove folder from workspace. Yes, I'm sure. Okay, so now here is our current version of our game. So yeah, if you're following along, be sure to download that repo that is in the link in the chat. Oh, you know what? Oh, I should put. Oh, I don't know if I can post it there. um, you know what? I can just. What can I do? Now I'm a little bit stuck. Well, okay, whatever. I'll just come over. Like, I don't want to like divert people from the Global Game Jam channel, but just like momentarily, you can come over to my channel, grab it from the link, and then jump back if you want. It's because I put it on the stream manager, or sorry, on the chat. Excuse me. Okay, finally. Man, so much background. It's like, Anyway, so okay. Let's see. Okay, so last time we left off with, yeah, we had a player. Okay, and we hard coded two enemies, enemy one and enemy two. So that's what these guys are, right? Enemy one and enemy two. So this time, what I want to do is, so the first thing I wanted to do was make like an arbitrary number of enemies, like how to handle that. And in order to do that, we're going to be doing loops. That's how you're able to like. So the idea behind loops, in theory, kind of, is like, so let's say here, see how I say like, let's say hypothetically we had like 100 enemies, right, on the screen. So like here, we're not gonna write like we don't want to manually write like okay enemy one LM style left, basically position his visual like the visual representation of that enemy like move it to where it's supposed to be on the screen, and then like so enemy one move there, enemy two move there, enemy three move there, enemy four move there, enemy 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Like it even hurts to say it that much. So what we do is we write a loop that allows us to iteratively go through like as many as we want dynamically. So that's what we're gonna do today. And to me, that's when like games get more flavor. Is like right now, like this game can never have more than two enemies. Like when you start using loops and like dynamic values, that's when things like that is the real meat of games. Like that's when you go from like beginner level to like beginner, like kind of in the middle of intermediate and beginners, when you actually start like like making interesting things. So that's what we're gonna do. So I keep on delaying the code. It's like I was as a side note, I was informed that I am a poor developer. Ouch. Oh no, a poor programmer, something like that. I'm like, man. It was from a job application. I was like, man, that's harsh. But just want to inform you guys, everything I do here is completely from scratch. I'm not using any cheat sheets or anything. This is just like my wisdom of code. So there's that. Okay. Anyway, let's see. So let's just go ahead and get started. So see, I feel bad because last time I started so from scratch, and now I guess I have to like if anyone's watching fresh, they're not going to get to see that like from scratchness. Like we have to just build on top of what we learned last time. But you know, hopefully you can understand what's going on. Okay, so the first thing I want to do ultimately is I want to make an arbitrary number of enemies. Um, so kind of logically, the first thing we need to understand, like think about, is like, okay, well, if we're going to have an arbitrary number of enemies, they're going to need to have a container. So like we're going to need to contain those enemies in something. So for the purposes of coding, we can either use there's like two, so there's two kind of main, they're called data structures. So I kind of just like put a note there. Data structures. That is a thing in programming. So data structures are like how you store data. In JavaScript, there's two main data structures. You can either have an array or you can have an object. These have different names in different programming languages. But an array is ultimately a list of things. And an object is it's kind of like, to me, an object is like a container of things, list of things, a container of things that's unordered. So that's the key right there. So this is ordered and this is unordered. Okay. Oh, you know what? I should have put this in the notes. Actually, let me go ahead and do that now. Copy. So I have now moved the notes to an official location to, let's see. There we go. Nice. Okay, a lot of stuff in here. This can kind of be our to-do list that we have down here. Let's see. So we want to go JavaScript. Yes. So let's put it here. Why not? Data structures. Okay. So ultimately, we're going to have to contain our list of enemies in a data structure. So we can either use an array, which will put them like kind of, you can kind of think of it like this. Like it's, and now I'll use this. Like an array is like literally like a list. So there's like a whole bunch of elements. I'll just do like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if like you had numbers in a list, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and let's say you removed 3, like 4 would take, like the list would shrink. It's like a list is like a line, like a queue of people, like at a grocery store or something. It's like literally, it's like there's, and they each spot has an index. And whereas an object, it's kind of, in JavaScript, they're actually very similar. That's not, you can't say the same for different languages. But an object, they're kind of just like floating. Like it would be like, and they have to be named. So that's the other thing. So lists, you don't need a name for the things in the list. Like they have indexes. So like let's say you wanted to reference this item, that would be the third item in the list. So you just say, hey, I want list of 3. Well, technically, programming starts at 0, so it's actually like to count in programming, you always start at 0. So it goes like if you're going to count on your hand, it's like 0, 1, 2. You know, you see what I mean? Like 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So 5 is actually 4. You like if you follow what I mean. You just have to start at 0. So that's the same. Programmers start at 0. Okay. So here for this object. Or sorry, just in objects in general, they don't have indexes. Like they're just, you just give it some name. Like you can just, any name you want, like Apple, and then you can put like some data here. Whatever data you want. And yeah. So an object has, they're called key value pairs, whereas a list just has values that are in an certain order. So for the purposes of games, we're going to store stuff in an object. So, and the reason being is that we don't really care about the order of things for now. We just want, like, we want to have 2 enemies there, and then when we want to destroy them, like when, let's say, they get hit by a projectile, we want to delete that enemy. So we want, like, we're going to use an object so that we can easily put things in and out of it. Okay, enough with the theory. Let's start coding. I feel like I've already been on for 29 minutes and I haven't coded, but now we're finally coding. Maybe I am a bad developer. No, I'm just kidding.